Hello everybody out there in the Bookverse, it's Stephanie, and today I'm going to be doing my Hello everybody out there in the Bookverse, it's Stephanie, and today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up. So I didn't really have the greatest reading month in April, unfortunately. I felt like I kind of went into a little bit of a slump, and it's continuing a little bit into May at this point. We'll see how it goes, but I did manage to read 6 books, and I managed to read every book that was on my TBR Star Hop, which was awesome. Unfortunately, I only read one book that wasn't on my TBR Star Hop, so I kind of didn't do as well as I would have liked, but you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm not going to really make myself feel too bad about it. Otherwise, I just probably will get into an even worse slump. So yeah, I am very excited about some of the books that I did read though. I had a really good quality reading month, I feel like, so that was good on that end at least. So if you're new to my channel, hey, welcome. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you would like to see more from me, definitely hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post new content. But let us jump into these books. I'm gonna start out with the 2 books that I don't actually own. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is the first ever ARC that I read on NetGalley, and it is called Tools of a Thief. I don't remember who the author is, but I will put a picture of it up here so that you guys can check that out. This was just a novella, and it followed this, oh gosh, what was she? A goblin? Was she? A gnome. I think she was a gnome, and she was a thief and somehow got herself entangled in this plot to steal an object from a very high up person in her world. She owes it to her aunt, who somehow holds things against her, and she enlists the help of I think she's a human. I felt like I was kind of confused on a lot of the things, and then another human as well. I think that's part of the reason why I didn't enjoy it as much. Spoilers. But I didn't really enjoy this book all that much. Honestly, I thought it was kind of poorly done. I didn't think the world development was good at all. And I do understand that in novellas, world development is more limited than in full-length novels, but I was very confused. I felt like there was kind of a fire hydrant of information just flying at me, but it wasn't explained in a way that I was able to really understand how it worked within this world. It was just kind of like, oh, here's a bunch of names and places and events and things, and there you go, and here's the world building, and I didn't really enjoy that much. I also didn't really like the main character. I thought she was very annoying and frustrating, and I didn't like following her at all. She was just someone I couldn't get behind. I thought she was a terrible person to her friends. One of them saves her life a couple times, and then the first time he's in trouble, she's like, well, I only have to outrun him, so he'll die, but I'll get away. I'm like, wow. Yeah, you're kind of a terrible person. So I didn't like that aspect of it, and I thought that the whole thing was building up to this big event that they were going to pull off this crazy amazing heist, and it lasted 2 pages. It was so short, over so quickly, and very anticlimactic. So I didn't really enjoy that book. But I feel kind of accomplished that I have read my first ARC on NetGalley, so yay, welcome to actually being a booktuber, and that felt really cool. The next book that I'm going to talk about, I listened to on audiobook, and that was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This is kind of a follow-up novel to her A Court of Thorns and Roses series. This one follows Nesta, who is the sister of Feyre, the main character in the first series. And Nesta in this book is really struggling with a lot of things. She went through a lot of trauma, and she just isn't dealing with things very well, and she has to almost be forced to get back into the world and to deal with some of these issues that she has had. Now, I mentioned this when I put this book onto my TBR that I just really dislike Nesta bad. I just hated her in the ACOTAR series, and I know a lot of people say that they grow to love Nesta more in this book, and I didn't really feel it. I thought she was okay, but she wasn't all that amazing, honestly. And I mean, while you understand some of the trauma that she's been through, and it's been a lot, it's been horrible, and you do feel for her and feel for all the stuff she's gone through, I just feel like she was this way from the beginning. She's always kind of been this not so great person from the very beginning, even before all these things happened. So it makes me give her a little bit less of a break for the terrible way that she treats other people, especially like Feyre and Rhys. But I did enjoy the overall story of it, the like learning to fight to overcome fear and to overcome some of this like PTSD and things that these women have been through. I think that was really amazing. I liked some of the new characters that were introduced. I really enjoyed the librarians and learning their backstories, and I really liked learning more about the process of the people, the Illyrian warriors. That was interesting as well. I just really didn't enjoy Nesta as a character, and I didn't really like her romance with Cassian all that much either. I do like Cassian, but I just really didn't love their dynamics as much as I thought I was going to. I felt like there was tons of miscommunication tropes in there, and just all of these feelings of, oh, I'm sure that he doesn't like me, he's just in it for the physical stuff, and then he's like, oh, I'm sure she doesn't really like me, I'm like, just talk to each other, you guys are so annoying. So that really bugged me. I hate miscommunication tropes. And also they had the trope of the kind of lucky novice in there as well, which I absolutely did not enjoy whatsoever. I thought it was so poorly done and I hated it. And I don't want to talk too much about that because of spoilers, because I don't want to give anything away, but I don't like that in books, and I felt like it was just too present in this one. It didn't make sense to me. And so I didn't really enjoy the book very much, honestly. Maybe like 3 stars, barely. I feel really bad because I know so many of my friends absolutely love this book, but I didn't love it. It had a lot of issues in it that I just couldn't get over. So unfortunately, that was another one that I didn't love. But on the plus side, the 2 books that I didn't really love, I don't own. So I don't have books on my shelves that I don't like, that are just taking up space. So moving into books that I actually own the physical ones for, the first one I'm going to talk about is Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This was also on my TBR Star Hop, and I loved it. I thought it was so good and so well done. This is the second book in her Live Ship Traders series, which is kind of the trilogy that follows the Farseer trilogy, which is the Fitz trilogy, Assassin's Apprentice, and those ones. And I like this series. I think it is really, really well done. I really do think that Robin Hobb improves as a writer in this series. I feel like the Farseer trilogy, just following Fitz, you get to know him so well, and of course, it's traumatic. It hurts us to read that series. But this one goes into multi-POV. We get to know a lot of people in this world. And so I feel like the information we're getting and the way we are receiving it, I like it a lot better. I just feel like a lot of high fantasy books, it's very hard to really get to know the world and get that built up as well as I would like if we don't have multi-POVs. Sometimes it's done well. Obviously, I loved Farseer as well, but I just love how much bigger the world gets with these multi-POVs in this series. And also Robin Hobb is amazing at character work. We have some really great characters in this series. So we are essentially following this trader family who have what is called a live ship. So these ships are made of wizard wood, and then once 3 generations of a family have died on their decks, they come to life. And this family ship is just coming to life, and we are following them through that. Their father, their patriarch of the family, has died, and that is what has brought this ship to life. We are also following a pirate who wants to become the pirate king, and we are following these sea serpents as well, which is a very odd perspective to read from, especially in the first book, but oh my gosh, it becomes so good as you get further into the series. I absolutely love it. So this book definitely dives deeper into the politics, and we really get into the politics of the world and the different countries. It's essentially Bingtown, where our main people live, and then they are part of this country ruled by this satrap, kind of a king in Jamalia City, and they are constantly kind of butting heads with the Chalcid states, or the Chalcidians. So that's really the majority of the people, except for the pirates who have their own isles. And I just think we do a really good job of exploring how different people are going to be reacting differently to new situations that are developing and to different political positions that are happening. I just really liked how that was done in this book, for sure. I feel like some of my favorite characters went downhill a little bit in this book, unfortunately, but I still really loved the character work that was done in here, and some of the new characters that we started to get perspectives from I really enjoyed. And learning more about the Rainwild traders and their magic, where their different things come from, the different trade goods that they have, is very fascinating, and I'm really, really looking forward to the third book. I feel like there's going to be so much more revealed, so much more that we learn, and I love the connections that you see to the Farseer trilogy in this book. It's so good. I absolutely loved it. I think it was about a 4.5 stars for me. I think I rounded up to 5 on Goodreads, and I really love this book. I can't wait to jump into the third one, which I'm going to be reading this month for the read-along that we're doing with Megan over at Megan's Reading Revelation. So yeah, definitely looking forward to finishing out this trilogy. The next book that I read was a reread for me, and that is Immortal Sands by Mackenzie Mon. This is the first book in the Soul of Terry's series, and it is kind of a young adult fantasy that follows a girl who is imprisoned in this very high security prison in her world, and she escapes and is out to save her sister from the family who are the rulers of her country, her land, who are corrupt and using children to further their ends and to steal their powers to make them pretty much immortal and beloved. So this book is so much fun to read. I absolutely loved it. It's a very fast-paced book. It's easy to read. You can really get into this world and just fly through it, which is something I love. Is really one of the main reasons that I love YA new adult fantasy, is because you can just get really invested in the world very easily. You don't feel like you're working to read it, and I absolutely love that about this book. I love the main character, Fenna. I think she has a lot of flaws, and she has a lot of issues, especially surrounding the fact that she has PTSD from being stuck in this prison for so long, but she just is such a loyal friend. She's very determined to save her sister and to do what is right by her sister and the people of this country. And I really love her friend Astrid, who is helping her out. She's very down to earth and practical, and her friend Grenick is also someone that I absolutely like reading about. He's sarcastic and funny, and he just lightens the mood while also being very competent and able to do things that they need to do to survive. I tabbed it up a ton because I am going to be reading the second book this month, and I want to keep track of things that happened in the first one so I can I'm beta reading it, so I'm going to let the author know about different like inconsistencies or things that I notice. So this book was a lot of fun. I would highly recommend it, especially if you want to read some more indie YA authors. I think this is a great one for you guys to check out, and the second book is coming out later this year. So the next book I'm going to talk about I also read for a read-along, and that is Morning Star by Pierce Brown. This is the third book in the Red Rising trilogy, and this trilogy follows a man named Darrow. He is a red, which in their society is the lowest. They're kind of the miners below ground. His wife dies, and he is kind of taken in by this group of people that show him that there's much more to his world than he originally thought. And that's really just the first couple chapters, honestly, right there. It goes directions that you aren't necessarily expecting when you first start reading it, so I don't want to give away any spoilers because that was a lot of fun for me to kind of discover as I went. But this is the third and final book. It finishes out this trilogy, even though there are 2 more books that follow it. They're not like part of the original trilogy. Why is this happening? So this book really just follows Darrow. We don't get any other POVs. So I feel like the world building in it is a little bit less than I would have liked. But in this book, it definitely expands quite a bit, and we move into different parts of the solar system, and we learn about the different politics that are going on within those areas of it. And we really see Darrow trying to finish out what he has started, complete this rebellion, and free the low colors who are beneath the golds, who are the rulers of their like society. And he's really trying to overthrow the slavery that they have essentially put upon every other color. And it's very interesting. I felt like the first probably 2/3 of the book, I wasn't quite as invested as I would have liked. It got kind of frustrating. I was annoyed at a lot of the things, but the last third I thought was really good. Once we got into some of those final battling maneuvers to put themselves into a position to really kind of complete this rebellion, I liked how it ended. I thought it was a very satisfying ending, and I definitely did enjoy this book more than I thought I would when I first started reading it. And I think I will definitely be continuing on with the series and reading the next 2 books along with Alan and his read-along. So yeah, definitely happy that I have continued on with this series. And I think this one might, I honestly think I like Red Rising the best, which is probably an extremely unpopular opinion, but this one is definitely close behind it, if not pretty much even. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is another read-along that I have been participating in, and it is hosted by Jashana. I will link her channel down below, and it is the Legends of the First Empire series by Michael J. Sullivan, and this month was book 3, which is Age of War. I feel like this series has just gotten better and better as we went on. I really love the characters in it. They are so well done. This world is a very primitive world where the humans feel like the elves are gods, but then a human kills one of the gods and they realize they can be killed after all. And after that, things ensue. It becomes very complicated and complex as to why different things are happening, the maneuvers that are going on behind scenes that we don't necessarily know about to begin with, and they come up later. I think it's very, very fascinating. I absolutely love the twists that happen in this. The different things we learn about the characters as we go along is so good. And I just have been loving this series so much. I think Age of War is probably my favorite so far, which is encouraging because if I'm liking the books more and more as we go along, then I'm probably going to be liking the next ones even more. I'm very much looking forward to that. This book, obviously, it says it in the title, but we get more into the actual war aspect of this and the humans' kind of rebellion. I don't even know if it's necessarily a rebellion because they weren't full-on slaves before, but they were going to be taken out. So, I mean, call it what you will. It's very war-centered in this book, and I had so much fun with it. I think that the different politics in here weren't so complex that you couldn't really understand them. I think that Michael J. Sullivan does a good job of writing things that are easily accessible, but still complicated enough to make it a very interesting high fantasy world, and I love that about his writing style. I think this is a great series if you haven't read a lot of adult high fantasy to jump into because it's not super complex. It has a lot of species that are very common in high fantasy, like elves and dwarves and giants, so it's a little bit more palatable and it doesn't feel so much like you are lost in this high fantasy world while it's being developed. I really enjoy it a lot, and I just cannot wait to continue with the series. I think this is going to be one of my new favorite series. So those are all the books that I read in April. I really did enjoy so many of the books that I read. I think 4 out of the 6 of them were just great, and I loved my time reading them. So that's always encouraging. But let me know how your reading month went for April. Let me know what you read, which one was your favorite that you read last month. Let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from me, hit the subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.